Wolfpack, what's going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here, setting for the first time ever my Dynasty Fantasy Football Rankings. I am so excited to do this. I know we've been almost exclusively redraft focused for our first 5 years of existence, but who am I to not be clear and aware of how much the Dynasty format is growing in popularity, and the more and more I talk about people, how much better it is than just strictly regular fantasy football. So I am so excited to dive in, make my own rankings. We're going to get our own Roto Street Journal Startup League going. 7/19 is going to be the draft day. We'll live stream that. I'll comment on it, all that good stuff. I'm just thrilled to get involved in this universe. I've talked with Mike Me Up over from the Big Dog Gotta Eat show, the Bed Bunk show over on YouTube. We had a fantastic conversation. I'll tell you straight up from the top here before we get into the rankings, which I'm going to do live, as you can see here, just rating here for you. But I do want to say, if you missed that Dynasty talk that I had over there with Mike Lou, he is unbelievable. Go check that out. You can find all our podcasts at ffbbpod.com with show notes, with video highlights, whatever format you prefer. But make sure you check that out. You'll learn that much more today about strategy, all that good stuff. This is going to be player names, all that good stuff. But if you want the holistic Dynasty overview, you got to check that interview out with Mike. It was fantastic. But guys, let's get right into it. I would love feedback as we go, because as I said, this is my first time ever, which gives you kind of like an advantage since it's fresh. I'm not biased. I haven't been sitting in this Dynasty game forever and have these lock mindset values on people. But also I can understand your hesitancy. Like, why am I listening to this guy? He's never done it. I'm pretty damn good at the redraft stuff. I think I'm going to be intuitive with this, but that's where your feedback is going to come in so helpful, guys. Exactly, Tunes. I know you're already there for the draft. I can't wait to have it. And of course, anybody out there, if you're willing to give this a thumbs up on YouTube, Facebook, if you're here live, I would love comments, Facebook, all that good stuff, feedback as we go. If you're catching the replay, comment away. You guys know I always answer you guys back. Me or my man CJ will get to you as well. But let's stop the delay here. I know you guys are here for the player rankings. And let's just start at the top. I mean, it's got to be Pat Mahomes right in his own tier. I don't know if that seems crazy given how the quarterback margin has really shrunk with all these runners, that Konami code. But I still think overall it's Pat Mahomes. He's going to be dominating the league till he retires at this point. So you got to have that guy here at the top, pretty much in a tier by himself there. From there, Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen versus Dak. I lean Josh Allen here at number 2 for quarterbacks. Many reasons why. I saw a recent report from Greg Cosell, one of my favorite scouts, one of the best eyes out there, talking about how his ceiling, he might be the most gifted physical quarterback he has ever seen as in his years of scouting. And it's just a matter of time before he hits that ceiling. So I'm with him. I love that guy. I trust his evaluations. I think Josh Allen is still just scratching the surface. We saw what he could do when he finally got some good weaponry. Stephon Diggs added there last year. I think he's just, again, that arm talent is only going to continue to get more refined. The leg points are going to be there. So I have Josh Allen number 2. Kyler Murray makes sense at 3, but I am a little bit worried about, is Kingsbury going to be long there? Is he going to last? What happens there? What if Murray decides to go play fucking baseball? I don't think he will. But, I was sitting here predicting that he will, but that risk exists with him. I would prefer, I love Justin Herbert. Now, call me crazy putting him at 3. I think this man's going to throw 50 touchdowns this year and be like that cornerstone of teams for the future. So I really like Justin Herbert. I think I would have a hard time taking him above a Kyler Murray, above a Lamar Jackson. But, right there with Dak, who had that insane start to the year last year, 30 points per game. No team was scoring more touchdowns than the Dallas Cowboys. I think there's a lot of upside there with Dak as well. This is clearly the kind of the tier for me, and that's tricky to sift through. Let me know what you guys think about, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 there. If I'm insane, I really do think Justin Herbert could be good. I think there's a great comment coming in here. My man, Sammy, good to see you, brother. Is Murray coach-proof? I would think his coaching situation would only get better if Cliff's fired. Maybe, but remember, Cliff is the guy that, the air raid offense, bringing it in. He made sure to draft Kyler Murray to fit him into the system because of his, college experience in the air raid and whatnot. This is all Murray has played in for the last 6 years of his career going back to college. I wonder, you imagine the new coach would be catering to his players' strengths and all that if somebody does come in, but I can't sit here and say he's QB, coach proof. He's got the legs, he's got the arm, he does it all. So I imagine he would be, but I wouldn't go out and say Kingsbury getting fired would be actually a positive. No. In terms of the next group, well, I think Burrow. Now this is ranked in the ECR, so like this is like the average consensus. So you'll see where I'm a bit different than rankers as I go. I think Burrow at 7. I do love this guy. I think he could throw 40 touchdowns as early as this year with these new, young, exciting talents. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I think is going to come back even stronger this year. And Tyler Boyd's been so steady. That's going to be money for Burrow, who was on pace for the most pass attempts in the league before he got hurt. I think that recipe continues. I am only worried about the offensive line. I wouldn't rank him above Russell Wilson, who I do think actually belongs in this tier. I know he fizzled down the stretch. I get it. It's frustrating. Why don't they just throw the ball? Why don't they just let Russ cook? I get it. I'm with you. The frustration sucks. Still, it's Russell Wilson, who I think maybe is behind only Pat Mahomes is like a pure quarterback in the NFL right now. So give me Russell Wilson there at 7 because I do think they might let him cook this year. I think Sean Waldron, the new offensive coordinator from the Rams, the passing game guy, all the talk is they're pushing the pace. They're using a lot of no huddle. They're becoming more inventive in their concepts and that it's like a genius type of system. So I like Russ. I get how frustrating he can be. More so how frustrating Pete Carroll can be. I understand it all. But man, do I love Russell Wilson just as a player. It's hard for me to get off that. And I think is Burrow 7? That's a tricky one because he did look good, but not fantastic while he was out there. So I'm going to bump down Rodgers because I don't think he has too many left in him. I'm going to bump up who I actually have as the number 1 rookie quarterback this year. That's Justin Fields. I have him above Trevor Lawrence. I am a little bit worried about what Urban Meyer could do to Lawrence's confidence. Already being like, the guy's not ready to start, but he doesn't have to be. Tim Tebow coming in and vulturing shit. Trevor Lawrence makes me a little bit nervous. He seems like the surefire bulletproof prospect. I'm not 100% in on that, though, myself. I think I'd almost rather have Fields than Burrow for the Konami upside. Similar with Trey Lance as well. Like you look at what guys could leap into this by next year. Who's going to be that next Lamar Jackson? Trey Lance could just be as prolific as a rusher as Lamar is, as a cannon. Plays with Kyle Shanahan. That could all be exciting stuff. But I do really, really like Joey Burrow in his long-term upside too. But I guess I'm just a little higher on some of these rookies right now in Dynasty. I think this class is going to go down as a absurd one. If I knew Jalen Hurts was the starter for the next 4 years, he'd probably be right there at 8. I can't put him in that tier because of that uncertainty. And that's similar to Deshaun Watson, right? Like if he was playing, he led the league in passing yards last year. He'd be right here at this because he's going to be great for every year he plays. But is he going to play this year? Is he going to ever come back from this? Yeah, probably. But it's not a guarantee. So I can't take him above some of these more exciting younger prospects. I think Ryan Tannehill is as underappreciated and one of the best dynasty quarterbacks you can get because he falls so late. Man, you give this guy Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, and I get Julio's career isn't too much longer, but man, that guy is going to always be underappreciated. So I am a little bit higher on Ryan Tannehill, I think, than anybody else. Denny, I see you never did Dynasty. Good to see you, Anthony DiLorenzo. Yeah, it's my first time too, but I'm glad you're here, Denny. Great to hear from you. Been a while. And anybody again out there, comments, feedback as I go, questions, so appreciated. We'll answer any questions you have, but also let me know what I should be thinking as I go through this list. Because it's tough to do as your first time. You see how the age is kind of factoring in here. Friday, Thursday, 4 p.m., right before 4th of July weekend. Got to have a beer. I think Zach Wilson might be criminally underrated here. Rodgers probably has 3 good years left, but then there's the risk. If we're talking about the risk of Deshaun Watson not playing, well, it's a very real risk. We don't get Aaron Rodgers this year. What if he just decides this is it? They're not going to cave to my demands. Well, see you guys later. Would anybody be shocked if that's what we see from Aaron Rodgers? I don't think so. So I think he's got to be a little bit lower than he is on this list. So I'm about 6 lower on him. I'm trying to think where do I want to put in a guy like Baker Mayfield, who I don't love, but is young and on an ascending offense and probably the guy for at least the next 5 years. So, that's tricky. Again, maybe a little too high on Ryan Tannehill, but I don't think so. I think he's a stud. I think Zach Wilson is criminally underappreciated, especially given the way he's been getting hyped. He might be as good as any of these guys in this class, and you'll get him 3, 4, 5 rounds later in dynasty drafts. So I still like him. I mean, obviously guys like Brady who have like 1 year left, like you have to keep that in mind, but he's still going to chuck for whatever amount of years he plays. So it's tricky. Like single QB league, it'd be different than Superflex if you just want like a stopgap. I do like Stafford. I think he's got 4 to 5 monster years in him coming up with the Rams. So I'm going to have him a little bit higher, I think. Maybe a little higher up here. Man, I really wish I knew Jalen Hurts was going to pan out and be the starter. Because if so, at 15, I think even just for the upside, I would bump him over Tannehill and go like that. And then let's get to like these guys down here. So these are like all QB1s I'm very confident in if they're starting. I like them. You know, maybe these guys, these rookies take a little longer to develop, but I still like them. Now you're looking at, so again, you see that right there. If you're listening to the podcast too, if you prefer podcast, awesome. Fantasy Fullback Dive, wherever you listen. I appreciate wherever, likes, subscriptions, all that good stuff. Reviews mean the world to us. This one, though, if you're listening to the podcast, it might be better to catch the video so you can actually see the names. I'm not going to just read like 17 straight names that the live viewers are seeing here. So keep that in mind. From there, it's like, does Carson Wentz get revived? Maybe. I think we got like 3 more good ones out of Matt Ryan. And I'm not ready to call it quits on Tua. They've given him the right weapons. They have new offensive coordinators coming in. I could see Tua rebounding, but I don't have enough faith to put him up here with these guys that I feel much better about myself. But yeah, I could see it. Like, it makes sense. I do like Mac Jones. I think he's going to have a nice long career here with the New England Patriots. I think he should be a little bit higher in these rankings. I mean, Matt Ryan could fall off a cliff too. I do like Arthur Smith, though. I think they're going to get some good years in together. And then I think Kirk Cousins belongs in there as well. And now you're looking at like, this is probably Daniel Jones' last chance, right? So, what's that for him? What do you make of the Saints guys? Like, if Taysom Hill wins the job, he's going to be a QB1. If Jameis Winston wins the job, he's probably going to be a QB1. I'm banking on Winston maybe being the quarterback of the future. I think he could end up being a dynasty steal if he's rated that low in dynasty leagues just because of Sean Payton. Like, in dynasty, I really do love betting on coaches, on systems that have been proven to be successful. I won't be drafting Andy Dalton or Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock. Like, none of that means anything to me. And Cam Newton's on his last, obviously, legs here in New England. I'm going to bump Brady just like because, for however long you have him, you're getting a top 12 quarterback. So I know it might be 1 more year. I know it might be 3 more years. Brady might play for 10. You never know. He did admit he's on like the last legs of his career. But if I'm like in this range and I just want like a surefire guy, he's got to be in there. And I'm also going to add in Ryan Fitzpatrick. I know he might be a 1-year rental. I got to have Big Ben. I know some of these guys might be on their last year, but they're still starters in the NFL, so we got to have them somewhere. So I'm gonna bump up. I am gonna give Sam Darnold a big bump up because I really do think he's gonna turn it around and prove to be one of those dynasty guys that like everybody wishes they still had. So I'm big into Sam Darnold. This is really helpful, Sammy. Good to see you're sticking around. I'm in love with the value of guys like Wentz and Darnold in startups. Yeah. I mean, either one of those guys, like with the arm talents they have, could really pan out. Maybe I'm a little too low on Wentz. The reunion with Reich could be great. I'm absolutely with you there. Do we really think Wilson can succeed in New York? Asked Anthony. I had my doubts, and I still do. I am much more confident after this draft with how they've shaped the line. They've gone all in on that. The weapons they've kind of surrounded him with, and all the reports are this guy is just crushing it. Now, I get it's short season, but I think he could. I am definitely higher on Wilson than I was entering this ranking set over the last hour. Cousins gets no love. Cook, JJ Taylor, exactly. Like he's another one of these, like Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, like those types of guys. He's right there with them. I guess this goes to show, I'm not a believer in Jones or Carr. or Goff. Like, I think they're in their last couple legs. So you know what? I would rather have like Ryan Fitzmagic, like as a 1-year rental. Maybe not over Daniel Jones, who like could still have a ceiling, but as long as he's tied to freaking Jason Garrett, I'm worried about him. I am. So I think you got to keep that in mind. Now, I guess Fitzmagic in a dynasty, like that's too high, but I just think you're never really going to want to start any of these guys, and you're going to get a year of like service out of Ryan, and maybe multiple if they commit to him. Similar to like Big Ben, like it might be only 1 year, but you might be getting a year's service. Now, am I psycho for doing that? You guys, again, know probably more about dynasty than I do, but I'd rather have the guy that like I think I'm going to get a couple years of, 1 year even, than these guys that like I don't think are ever going to touch my lineup. Maybe I bumped down Carson Wentz by accident. Oops. I'm right around there, 24. So again, you guys have played startups and dynasty longer. Comment in now if you're live, or add your questions and comments to the video. I would absolutely appreciate your feedback as we go. But I think this is kind of feeling pretty good about this. Like, I'll just put a tier to symbolize how absolute garbage, like, we're not going after Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater. Like, they're going to have their quarterback of the future soon enough. Maybe Jordan Love, though. Where's Jordan Love on this list? Just because he's bound to be the next quarterback for the Packers. They're working on that extension with, Jordan Love should be in here. I think Marcus Mariota should be in this list. Maybe Kyle Trask going to Tampa Bay. Like, those weapons could be great, but I'm not a believer in him. I don't think he's going to be an NFL player. But I could get down on Jordan Love being like in there. I could see Marcus Mariota like over Derek Carr, who's backing up. Like, I like that too. So that's what I got for quarterbacks. Again, keep your questions, comments, all that stuff coming. I see you, Riley, here commenting about where do you think Najee Harris goes? Well, we're going to go on over to running back. So great segue there. I appreciate it. So that's my quarterback rankings. Again, questions, comments on whatever you think about these guys. Is there anyone I'm crazy, too high, too low on? And you can find these all at rotostreetjournal.com. Probably tomorrow they'll be published officially. I'm going to have to go through tonight and really dig in and sift through, make sure I didn't have anything crazy on here. But you can find all these at rotostreetjournal.com. We're Breed and Feed Fantasy Wolves, or in our app, Roto Street Journal. You can just search it there. Those are the quarterback rankings, though. Please let me know what you think, guys, in the comments or live here. Let's move on to the running back position, the horses. And I know in Dynasty they have, and Mitch, just as a heads up, this is Dynasty format. I definitely could see him finishing top 10 this year. In fact, I think he's going to murder it with McVay. I wonder how long his leash is. So I think I have him at 15, I think I just showed. So we'll go back to quarterbacks while we wrap this up with Mitch. But where did I put Stafford? Yeah, 13. So I still think he's going to kill it this year and for about 3-4 more years, wherever he lasts with Sean McVay. I think he's going to kill it. But just because his leash is a little shorter, you have some guys you might be getting 15 years out of on this list versus probably 5 more out of Stafford. But I think they're going to be 5 very juicy years, Mitch. No problem. I see that. As Anthony DiLorenzo, the perfect segue. Time for the horses. Absolutely. The most important position in fantasy, but I also know in Dynasty, the shelf life is much shorter than the wide receivers. Doesn't make them any less important, though. These guys are still going to be the backbone of your rosters. Just the bell cows, as Scott Barrett has done such great research, are so infinitely valuable over their other replacement positions. That's why I always load up at the position, even with 0 running back gaining team. I'm a running back hoss breeder till the day I die. So we're going to stick to the hosses. I think McCaffrey still belongs in his own tier. I know last year was injury riddled, but that was the first of his 3 years that he's really been hurt. He's still young, only was drafted a few seasons ago. I still love him. Now, Barkley does make me nervous. I think the talent is supreme, insanely good. But I am nervous that these injuries, 2 years in a row, back-to-back, is don't like the line, don't like the coach, don't like his situation. He's a tricky one. I'd rather have JT. Give me the monster, who I'm a little bit lower. I'd rather have Saquon in redraft. I think Taylor's career is going to be long and fruitful. I think it's going to be fantastic. So I have him a little bit higher. I know Dalvin has those injury concerns. Hey, how do you rank Barkley lower if your Cook has his injury concerns too? I have a feeling Cook's going to go down as a Keenan Allen, where he had a tough couple first years, and now he's just a monster. But I get the argument. And so if I'm making that argument, it's like I think I prefer Cook if I'm going to go for one injury-prone guy over the other. And if Edwin's watching, I know he's either injury-prone doesn't exist. Good argument there too. But I am a little bit nervous, these guys. I still think the big dog, Derrick Henry, I might put it 3. He is an absolute tank. And I know he's a little bit older here than these guys, 2016, so 5 or so years under his belt. But if anybody's an anomaly, if anybody's a horse, it's this guy. So maybe a little too high on him, but I would have him right there in my top 5. I've always been a Henry guy. And I think like this tier is going to be a deep tier. I would probably cut it off there, maybe Swift. I might even go a little bit above Swift because I still want to see it from him a little more. The flashes were great. They were brilliant. I want to see that this staff will actually commit to him. They're already talking about freaking Jamal Williams is the A-gap pounder, like all that stupid garbage. Come on. But I do think long-term he has a brilliant, beautiful ceiling. I know a lot of respected experts have him top 5 in their dynasty ranks, and I can't really argue that. Like, I do like Cam Akers, though. I think Cam Akers might become their next Todd Gurley. But I also love – so this is tricky, right? Like, I love all these guys. I'm trying to think of, like, where do I want to bounce them around? And, if Kamara has Winston, I feel so much better about him than if he has Taysom Hill. So that makes me a little nervous for his long-term outlook. Akers, though, I really could see being their next Todd Gurley. I have a hard time taking him over some of these proven guys. And I know this is PPR ranking, so I see the Chubb doesn't have as much value. They have Kareem Hunt under contract. But he's just Nick Chubb. He had, 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns after missing 4 games last year? It was insane. I think the jury's still far too out on Joe Mixon. Like, I love the idea of a rebound. He's given me some great late season surges, and I've loved that. But I also, I don't know, the injuries, the inconsistencies, like he is not nearly the lock. And he's just as old as Zeke, maybe 1 year, 1 year after him. I think Gibson has to be higher. I could see this guy coming out and becoming, the next Christian McCaffrey for Ron Rivera. I'm a huge Gibson fan. I'm going to kind of cut this tier. Oh, and Najee Harris, he's going above these guys. Right there at 8. I am diehard Najee. I think he is going to be the future workhorse there for a long time. Now, if Big Ben's gone, does it really matter where Najee is? What if that offense just continues to falter and their line sucks and then the Pittsburgh just becomes a nothing team? I get that, but I don't think so. I think he's the next great Tomlin workhorse, and it won't really matter who is there. Best tandem running backs, first half Henry, second half Henry. Yeah, right? Exactly, Tunes. Wears the defense out and then steamrolls them over after that. Akers is that dude. So we got a believer from Mr. DiLorenzo. He sure looked like the dude during that late season surge. Want to see him stay healthy. Want to see him do that for a full season. But if he does, by this time next year, he's going to be up here. Let me know if any of these running backs seem like ridiculously off to you guys where I have them. Maybe I'm a little too high just because being new to the dynasty format. Like, is Zeke, is Henry, now entering year 5 each. Those guys do hit a cliff sometime soon. If not, they're going to be insane values if you get 3 more years out of them at this prices. And how is Clyde Edwards-Helaire this low? I think he's maybe the biggest screaming buy in Dynasty right now that you could possibly have. I know last year didn't pan out. I know we were super high on this guy. I think I even rated him above Kamara. I'm so sorry. Horrible call. But that doesn't change the fact that he is still, for the next 4 years, the workhorse behind a Pat Mahomes offense. Should they commit to him and give an extension? Should he pan out to be who they thought they were when they took him at 32? You get 10 years of him with Mahomes. I mean, he would be number 2 on this list. So down at 18, I mean, give me a break. That is a screaming bargain. I think he's going to go down and is one of the best redraft and then especially dynasty picks. I would be buying as hard as I could this year based on those prices. I also think Austin Eckler is far too underrated here. And I love Dobbins as a player. I just am worried if he's ever going to be a true monster in this committee-based attack with Lamar Jackson there, not throwing on his running backs. I worry about that. I do. So I do love Eckler. I think he is one of the most underrated dynasty pieces right now, falling like around 3, 4. So I like having the Eckman in this tier. And you can see, though, it's like a lot of, the future, like the next 5 years RB1s, probably the next 5 years RB1s. Like RB is getting more and more. The Haas's, the stable is getting deeper by the year. We're getting finally some nice injection. It was barren. Remember those years like 2015, 2016, where it was like David Johnson was the only RB1 and then it was just garbage after him? Like, huh. All righty. One guy I think doesn't get enough credit, and I hated him for so long, so I know a lot of you guys are like, screw you, Wolf, you're going back on it. It's David Montgomery. I mean, the light switch went on last year. Yeah, the schedule was soft. Well, so it was for Taylor. Can we not pretend like, I do like Taylor, but you know what? I can't take him above either of those two guys, like Dalvin or Saquon in a dynasty startup. Love me some Taylor, but it's Frank Reich, and Frank Reich can still be an asshole. So, here we go. We're drinking a little Treehouse Doppelganger. Nice stock up this week. Oh, it's so good. So where would he go from here? I'm not into Miles Sanders. I don't think he's it. I am very into Javonte, so I'm going to bump him up just a bit. Big fan of Montgomery. I think he gets undervalued. I do like Chris Carson. I do. Maybe not over Etienne, who as a redraft, I'm not like super, super high on, but I do think long-term he could end up being a monster. I really like Kareem Hunt, though. I think he is like the definition of the handcuff with benefits. Not even really a handcuff, though. Like he is the 1A, 1B. I think he was top 14 last year running back. And yeah, Chubb missed some time, but it wasn't like he lit it up, though, in those games. So, and Chubb's going to be a free agent this year. Should he leave, Kareem Hunt would be up here. I mean, he is just as good as any of these guys in, honestly, both of these tiers. It's just that he's the second fiddle right now. But Kareem Hunt is a guy, like, if you're playing the long game, if they don't resign Nick Chubb, they get cute with that, you're going to see a guy that explodes in value, absolutely explodes. And Chris Carson, Kareem Hunt, though. I'm not a Josh Jacobs fan. Don't like how he's used. Certainly not into Melvin Gordon. So we know that there's going to be a tier drop off here. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Miles Sanders, but I recognize he could revive it. Like, it's still early. The jury's still out on this guy. But count me as a non-believer myself. And then this is where it's like, okay, so Tony Pollard, I'm really into. Still a backup, but free agent in the next few years. So it gets tricky to rank from here, though. This is where it gets tough. And we won't spend too much time. Like, I'll go through this on my own. Do love Trey Sermon as the future potential Shanahan workhorse. Should that happen, he's going to be a top 10 guy. But that upside exists. I'd rather have him than Jacobs. I'm out on Jacobs. And the guy got the fourth most points or fourth most touches last year, third most. And he finishes like the RB13. Like, it was just so inefficient and nothing special about him. Looks okay. That's about it. Okay. Not for me. Myles Gaskin, and I could see Melvin Gordon landing somewhere where he'd get some value, like after next year. He'll get an okay year with Denver. I like Gordon as a player. I don't see the A.J. Dillon, why he's all the way up here, because Aaron Jones just signed that monster extension, so I don't see any reason for A.J. Dillon to be as high as he is here. I'm not going to touch David. Like, these old guys, maybe Zach Moss gets a bump up just in case he ever does take over that role. But from here, it's pretty ugly. I do like Damian Harris. I think the Pats really want him to be their guy, and they're going to give him a shot to do it this year. And if he does, you might get another few years of that. But we've reached the range of guys, obviously McCaffrey, that I love, that I really, really like. That I mean, Javonte, I really, really like. He might be in this tier too. But, that might have a thing to prove, but I do still really like it. And then it drops off. Like, at 23, it is a big drop-off, is what I'm kind of noticing here. I would rather honestly get a guy like Pollard. Like, maybe James Robinson. I'm not into Rojo. That ship has sailed for me. Maybe as a free agent, he goes somewhere. I think the talent is there. But until he's out of Tampa Bay, you're not going to get anything of him. He's a wasted pick. You're drafting him for the future. Yeah, I don't. A.J. Dillon though, I don't need it above any of these guys. Some of the Fournette, like great for a little stretch there, but not much being brought to the table. I think Gus Edwards. If I'm going to toss out some names from down here, they've signed him to that extension. They like him a lot. Like I like Gus. I think Jamal Williams brings a lot to the table, and that's why I'm, I guess, a little bit lower on DeAndre Swift. I really think Jamal Williams is a player. I think he's a baller. So I'm going to give these guys a bit higher. I think Chase Edmonds makes a ton of sense in this type of range above these types of guys. Like if he does win that job, he's going to probably be a starter. But let's say he just separates completely from James Conner. He could be a stud. But James Conner, I don't know, is 100% done yet either. So I'm going to – this will be like the top 40 here. I think Mostert's still – that's too undervalued because, like, yeah, I like Sermon more, but Mostert is still going to be there for a few years. And the quote came out from the beat writers today. When he's healthy, no one glides like him in the NFL. He's the starter. He's the guy. He's the 1A, they call him. So, like, Mostert could be the lead back for the next 4 years. That's more valuable than anything down here. So I think Mostert, significantly undervalued dynasty asset right now. And that's, and while I'm doing this, I cross-check myself with my man Mike Me Up, as I hinted at on that podcast a few weeks ago. Again, if you haven't seen that and you missed the intro, you have to check out that podcast with Mike Me Up if you're a Dynasty fan. So much good strategy and things to consider from that long-term, like rebuilding, all that type of stuff. Unbelievable stuff. I'm a Patreon for him. I love his rankings. I think they're amazing. And I'm cross-checking mine. They'll be like, am I insane on this guy? Through a lot of these. And there's a couple I'm way higher on than Mike, for sure. Todd Exotic. What's going on, man? Great to see you. It's been a minute. I hope you had a good school year. I hope you're enjoying all that summer vacation time, man. I hope you're in Treehouse is the absolute GOAT. Anthony DiLorenzo. Jacobs round 4-5 equals steal. LV investing on their own line. Not much of a pass catcher anyways. KD arrival, not bad. So you're thinking I'm wrong here, Sammy. I appreciate that commentary on Josh Jacobs. He's just not for me. I don't know. I don't think he's that good. Like, I know he's not really a pass catcher. And are they investing in their own line? They just released like 4 linemen, right? Like, they're completely remaking it after they had a decent line last year. I don't know. I don't like what they're doing. I'm not a Jacobs believer. I'm not. And I might look dumb there. Maybe he does belong with like this group because last year he was a top 10 running back. So, like maybe, but he's not for me. So that's what I got for running backs. I'm trying to just think if there's any other like names to shout out like down here that I really believe in. You're looking at all these like old guys. I do like Michael Carter a lot. I'm going to send him soaring up these ranks, even though the track record of those round day 3 guys is almost non-existent. I think he could be the exception. I think Mike Davis has a year or two at least as a lead back in this Falcons offense, and that could be worth a whole lot. Like, if I'm going to rank Myles Gaskin there, Davis should be up here. So I think he definitely deserves a little bit of a bump. I'm going to put Mostert just a little lower. I'm a little too high on him. And I think Melvin Gordon could, even when he's a free agent next year, rebound. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any last names down here at running back that catch my eyes. Like, oh yeah, let me bump that guy up. Javion Hawkins, I really like. Let's just get him kind of chucked up here. Jimmy White's still going to catch the ball. He's still going to do some things. But yeah, now you're looking at backups and old useless guys that you never really want. So that'll wrap up our running backs there. Let me know, again, your thoughts in the comments or live here. If there's anybody I am far off on with these, it'd be much appreciated. Now on to the Dynasty Receivers. This is where things get interesting, folks. The wide receivers, which are far more often the cornerstone of your team, right? They last longer. They can just week in and week out put up their numbers and their points. So I get that. Now, at the top, I got to go with the guy that just set the rookie record. That's Justin Jefferson. Maybe, though, I have a hard time going anybody over Tyreek Hill, to be honest. Give me the guy that's attached to Pat Mahomes for the rest of his career, right? Like, that's pretty easy math for me. Love A.J. Brown. I think, Julio being there might hurt him this year, but long-term, that guy is an absolute monster. And then Adams at 5, makes sense. Life without Rodgers is going to get tough, but he's been quarterback-proof. He's just a little bit older than these guys, right? Everybody else in here was, drafted the last 3 years. Adams was drafted in 2014, so, he's a little bit older, a little bit less shelf life here. I do actually, love Diggs. You got to have Diggs. What class was Diggs? 2015, so a year above Adams. He's still got 6 more years with Josh Allen. That rapport is just insane. I'm going to be a little bit higher on Diggs in Dynasty here. I'm going to be a little bit higher on Calvin Ridley, I think. I'm a big Ridley guy. This is tough. It is tough to separate Dynasty and long-term from redraft. But to me, I think Ridley's just a stud. He's going to be a stud. I think Hopkins obviously is among the best, but he's going to be one of the older guys. 2013 draft class. He'll be an alpha for 5-6 more years, though. So I can't take anybody. I can't take, as much as I love CeeDee Lamb, I can't take him above a Mike Thomas or a DeAndre Hopkins. I need that sure, locked in, give it to me all day. I do love Godwin, but I am worried about what becomes of those guys when Brady's leaves. Who's their quarterback? What happens there? I think DJ Moore's a little overrated. I get he's due for the touchdown regression positively. I get he looks studly while he's out there, but part of me is if it hasn't clicked yet, when's it gonna? I'd rather have a Terry. I think Terry's better. I think Terry's better than Godwin. I'm into that. I like Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper is a little underrated here. Ayuk. I mean, this guy looked like a stud, and I understand Debo might be the true alpha. I understand Trey Lance, the passing volume might be there, so it's tough for me to get too high on him. I do think CeeDee Lamb might be that next, alpha. So I do have, I think Jamar Chase, though, has to be, blind faith. I think he could be as good as anybody in here. He might be number 1 or 2 next year. So I would put him right there in my top 7. I think Chase is going to be that good. Maybe not right away, but eventually, and maybe right away. Last time he played on the field, he led the NCAA and touchdowns, receptions, playing with the same quarterback he's going to be playing with this year. I like Sutton as a player, but you got to be a little concerned about the quarterback here. I like Allen. Allen Robinson, same class as Devontae, but people view him as he's this ancient. No way. Allen Robinson's an alpha, and he's going to be playing with Justin Fields next. I mean, he is on a franchise deal, so he might be out of there, but I see them re-signing him to be the alpha with this guy for a long time. So I'm into Allen Robinson for a long time. T. Higgins, I think, is a beast. I think I even rather like T. Higgins over an Ayuk because of how much more passing volume he's going to have through his career. I honestly like T. Higgins more. I get the DJ more love, and then I don't get it. Robbie Anderson out-targeted and outscored him last year. Why is that going to change? And where's Robbie Anderson on this list? 51? Huh. Outscored him last year. 51. Mind-numbing. Mike Evans is just a stud. I don't care the draft class, all that stuff. He's a stud. And Robert Woods, when was Woods drafted? He's not that old. This is where it gets tricky. What's this balance of these studs that we've seen do it and these young guys that could be the next monsters? so hard to figure out like which way to go. Dynasty folks, like comment in now or comment in after. What do you do with like a Robert Woods? Odell? Like, tell me Odell can't rebound? You just 2 years ago, he would have been right up here, right? Like, and now he's now I will say I do love Chase Claypool. But I also love Devonta Smith. Giving him a huge bump up there. I think Devonta's the Eagles alpha for his career. Like I love Devonta. And I know that's polarizing, his weight, all that stuff. But nah, Devonta's it. He's the real deal. So is Deontay, though. I can't have Deontay below Claypool when Deontay's the alpha. I guess the risk with these guys, though, is like who's their quarterback? Similar to Devontae and similar to Mike Evans eventually and Chris Godwin. I don't know that I can be like this all in on Godwin. I am that all in on T. Higgins, though. Maybe I'm nuts, but fucking love me some T. Oh, Keenan Allen's got a, like, come on. Keenan Allen? Justin Herbert's locked in number one for the next, like, 7 years. You can't pass that up. I gotta put Keenan Allen right there, 14 in that tier. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kenny Golladay have a big career revival, but, you know, still young, 2017 draft class. But that's tricky. Part of me is wondering what to do with, like, Hopkins and Keenan, like 2013. Like, how old? When is the wide receiver cliff? Those of you that know that stuff a little bit better than me. You know, I don't pay as much attention as that as you guys. Not a new dime. I think Debo, though, if we're talking like dynasty, right? Like, he could be the number one there. So I think Debo was significantly underrated. I think Rashad Bateman could be the alpha for a long time there. So I think he needs to bump up. So you guys can definitely see who I'm a bit higher on here, huh? I love Elijah Moore. I think he's a stud. I think I have him above Jalen Waddle. But I'm gonna add a tier. Put it right here. I don't know that Juju is above these guys. I like Jerry Jeudy's route running. Robert Woods, I don't. It's so hard for me to like balance out like what I think about someone redraft where he's top 15 versus dynasty. Tyler Lockett the same way. Like, when was Lockett drafted? 2015, so he's still young. Deontay, 29. Yeah, like, I'm still in on these guys. I do think I prefer Claypool. He's like a monster athlete, like just freak show. I think Lockett's got plenty of time left, though. I think this new offense is going to be monstrous for him. I think Elijah Moore belongs in this tier too. And I think these Rams guys are going to be beasts for at least those next few years with Stafford. So I'm bumping them up. I'm putting them in there. I'm bumping Odell up. Like, Juju is ranked pretty high on here, but he's not old, but he's maybe the third fiddle on his own team. He's only a year contract, but like, what's, you know. All right, now we're getting into like these young guns. So I said, I think Robbie Anderson is significantly undervalued on this. I do think Jerry Jeudy's a screaming dynasty buy, though. I wish he had a better quarterback, but man, his routes are sick. Oh. Only thing holding Debo back is injuries. As an SC alum, that was even – yeah, That's a very good point. Like, the injuries are very real. But man, if he is like a Keenan Allen, as I keep bringing up, is like the guy that was always hurt and then finally got it together, he could go down as a dynasty steal. That Deebo Samuel. From here, I do like these reports about, like, I'm not a chart guy. Haven't really ever been. Don't think I ever will be. I prefer Visca there with his new staff. I think his skills fit that system better. I think like Julio Jones, like if you're getting into this range, it's like, why not get the guy that you're going to get 1,000 yards from this year, 1,200 yards from this year? Go get him now. Come on. But again, this might be where my like dynasty greenness comes through, because this is where it's like, how do you value age versus production versus provenness versus upside? Like, it's a tricky balance. I do think Fuller, as injury prone as he's been, has plenty of good years left. I think Waddle, I'm lower on him. Give me more. Give me Bateman. I'm not a Waddle guy. I'm not. I think I might be a little high on Devontae Smith too. I'm not going to put him in this tier, but I really do think he's the next big thing. And now it's like, okay, so where do the rookies slot in with these like old proven methods? Oh, I think Marquise Brown's going to have a nice little turnaround. I do love Curtis Samuel. I think Washington's going to use him perfectly. I think it's too early to give up on Rager. Thielen's kind of that classic, like, are you win now? Well, Thielen's still going to have at least, 1 or 2 more stud years in him, but he's hitting that cliff soon. Versus like Rondale Moore, unproven, but damn, he could be good. Big Gabriel Davis fan. I'm going to bump him up. I think Tony's underrated for where he went. I'd rather have Tony. Not a big Corey Davis fan. I think that ship has come and sailed. I'd rather have Landry's still got a few years in him. What year was Landry drafted? 2014. So yeah, Landry's significantly undervalued here. I think this makes sense. We'll get to 50 receivers and then we'll switch it up. So, well, yeah, we got like Gabe Davis here. Let me just see if there's any guys I would throw out there a little bit higher than what we're seeing. Do like Diami Brown a lot. I think Ruggs is useless. I'm not going to go for him. Not on my list. Ruggs ain't one of my guys. I think Mike Williams has a big bounce back, though. He's a dynasty buy right now. I would have him over all these guys. I think he's going to have his career year and like really take off this year. But down here, yeah, there's N'Keal Harry. He probably was like, what, up here? Like top 20 a couple years ago. That is just sickening. Yeah, this is about, I'll get McCole Hardman up because, again, I'll go for the pieces tied to a Mahomes offense any day of the year. I think he has like the highest passer rating when targeted the last 2 years combined. Mari Rogers, like there's Antonio Brown, like guy can still do it. He's a screaming dynasty buy. Terrace Marshall I love, but the injury concerns do make me nervous. Darnell Mooney, I'm a big fan of. I'm going to bump him up. He's got a big, long-time ceiling, in my opinion, with Justin Fields. Especially if Robinson leaves, I could see Mooney, like, exploding. I'm not a Mims guy. I think his ship has sailed. before it even got out of the fucking harbor. Just seeing if there's any names down here that I really like. Not really. I'm going to X out of a lot of these guys that just don't really matter to me. So I'll clean that up a little bit later, the receivers. But that winds it down for them. Now I know tight ends is going to be a little quicker, a little faster. Like there's, not quite as much to think through here. I think Kelsey, as great as he is in redraft, has to go down to 3 because he is among the older tight ends in the league at this point, still doing it. So he's a little bit lower, drafted like 2013, but you're still probably getting 3 more years of the best tight end. So like if you're win now, he's number 1 still. Waller though, drafted just a couple years ahead of him. Kittle might be he is the youngest of them, but he's also taking the most hits, the most injuries. I mean, is this where like Kyle Pitts comes in? Without seeing a down? Like, I think he's that good. I do. I genuinely do. I do think Kelsey still has to be here. Wow, my psycho to have Kittle 4 in Dynasty. Like, he's most people's number 1. I think Logan Thomas has to get a bump up. A little older, but still legit. Noah Fant is a beast, but I think Hawkinson is a bigger beast. I think Goddard, if and when Ertz is gone, is going to be a monster too. Love Hawkinson, though, redraft and Dynasty. Like, he's the one that's going to jump into this tier next year. Pretty confident in that. And then it starts to get ugly. I'm a huge Komet guy. I'm going to bump him up. Not a big Irv Smith believer. They're already talking and hyping up Conklin. Fucking joke. Conklin. Ruggs just one and done, says DiLorenzo. I think so, man. I'm not a fan of him. But yeah, that Komet train, I'm with you. I absolutely love it. Tunes, want no part of AB, stuck behind Godwin and Evans, and who knows when his next blow-up happens. Yeah, but I'm looking at those receivers he was near, and it's like, you're kind of looking at dart throws in that range anyways. I guess you go for like the longer-term upside. I even behind those guys, he was like on pace for like wide receiver 25, 26 numbers once he joined the team. So I could see him still being the guy. He's still a beast, I think. All righty, Dynasty. I don't love this Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. Not for me. I think we got some goodness coming from Tyler Higbee for the next few years. I don't think he's too old either. Tyler Higgs. I think Ingram is still an athletic freak. Still has the potential to rebound in a big way. When did Higbee get drafted? 2016? Oh, a lot of people are lower on him than I am. Huh. But yeah, the tight end situation for the Pats, I just don't love. If and when Mac Jones takes over, there's going to be more steady volume. I like Troutman. I do. But yeah, tight end gets tough fast, huh? Everett, some sneaky upside. I like Gesicki. I like Irv. I mean, I don't like Irv a ton with Conklin getting the hype, but he still is an athletic freak, and there is no more Kyle Rudolph. I could see OJ Howard still doing some stuff late in his career. Health hasn't been on his side, but man, he was one of the prospects that just like could not be beat. I know Cook's on his last legs, but he's got a few in him. I think Freiermuth's got a career in him. North Shore boy. Hurst means nothing to me. Get out of here. Not seeing much down here that I really like. Is Jarwin not in this list, though? Got to add me some Anthony Firkser. I got to add me some Mo Alley Cox, too. I could see him being a real player. He is just a long, mean guy. Jack Doyle's still going to catch a lot. I don't use tight ends there. All righty, so let's see what we got. I guess this is like the top 8 make a lot of sense to me, and then it gets really tough. Then you're just shooting fucking blanks to try to figure out enough shit against the wall type of stuff. I think Harrison Bryant, though, he showed he was a player last year. Albert O, like freak behind him. I got to give Tunyon a little bit of a bump up. He really came out last year, and he's still young. Class of 2017, he's got some potential still. Yeah, that seems about right. I added Mo Alley in. Let's bump him up. Jackie Doyle. They love their tight ends. Frank Reich does. No interest in Hurst ever again. I think Firkser, though, he could be a player. And as soon as Julio's gone, he could be like a top option there. Redraft-wise, I love him. And how many more does Gronk have, right? I guess he's more valuable because you got like 1 year out of him than these guys, these bums down here. But I don't know why I have Harrison. I like the player, but not that much. Yeah, this seems about right. Am I overlooking anybody? I'm crossing with my man Mike's rankings over here. We have some big. He's not high on Higbee at all. Whereas I am. He's big on Albert O. Wow. This seems about right. Yeah, I like this. Like tight end ones, last potential starters, and then like some old guys you could start this year or just some random rooks who might not do much. I like that. Yeah, that Cole Kmet train, baby. I agree, DiLorenzo. Absolutely agree. Alrighty, guys. So that wraps up my tight ends. As you can see, the tiers, the elite tight end ones, likely to be elite at some point, if not, pretty much already there. Then you got maybe tight end ones with some big upside. They get Troutman out of that tier. I really like. I'm not big into the John Hunter Henry experiment with the Pats. I think it's going to be good real life, but not fantasy wise. And then it just becomes trash. So that gives you those rankings. Now I'm going to pop on over to Superflex because I know that's what most of us do here for Dynasty. And I'm going to pop in Mahomes at the top just because if you're doing Superflex, that's it. And I'm going to bump in these elite QBs in Superflex because it is just tough to overcome. And then I'm going to get these running backs too that I had right in that tier. I mean, this might even look more like this and then bump these guys up, these running backs that I love. Because I get the value of receivers is more long-term, but and they're more elastic. People like to trade for them. But I prefer my bell cows. But you got your Tyreeks and stuff, so I'm going to do this. Cam. Seems about right. I do think Clyde's going to really rebound. I like this class of sophomore backs. I think that makes sense as a tier. These like elite tight ends. I need to have Chase up in this. Yeah, it's crazy. I have Kelsey top 5 redraft, but how many more years you get into that? We will see. That's why I kind of just like prefer these young receivers, right? I do love Trey Lance, Justin Fields in these redrafts. Oh, Zeke's got to be higher up. Mixon will get a little bump. Alrighty. Well, that gives you like my top, 50 or so right here, as you can see, like cutting off of Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, the older wide receiver ones, you're going to get some monster years for the next 4 or 5 versus like a CeeDee Lamb, you might get 10. I'm looking. Yeah, this seems about right. I like these wide receivers a little more than these QBs with some question marks. But I'm going to go through and really kind of knife through these with a fine-tuned comb after we hang up here. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Tunes, I see your question. Let's get to that. I appreciate, though, all the questions and comments so far. You can find all our stuff at roastrejournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Let's see what you guys have. Find out my draft pick for redraft. Are we going to be doing mock drafts? Of course. You know that August hits. We end up doing the daily draft wizards by the day. Once you go, actually, I totally agree, DiLorenzo. You never go back. It is the absolute best. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Add the comments, what you thought of this, if this was helpful, if you like these rankings, if I'm insane about any of these. But this is my first go around, so I'd love feedback. Whether you caught the live, you caught the replay, send me notes. What do you think I'm off? You know where to hit me up at Roto Street Wolf on Twitter. Check the rankings out. Send me a DM. Hey, Wolf, you were off here. Message it on the YouTube video because I really want these to be as best possible as I can. It's my first time doing it, so I'm not like lasered into it's a benefit in the sense that I'm not lasered into rankings that, as other people who've been doing Dynasty for longer might have been, but I also know that might be a disadvantage. So let me know where I could be better. But again, all our stuff, roastrejournal.com, podcast, Fantasy Full Bag Dive. We pave your path to 2021 titles and future titles now with Dynasty Rankings. I hope you all have a great 4th of July weekend. If you caught this, I hope it was great. If you caught this after. But thank you guys again so much. Please subscribe and like wherever you like to watch, especially on YouTube where we're really trying to gain some traction. It would mean the world. You can turn on those notifications so you know when we're live. I will always answer any and all questions every single time, Wolfpack. But thanks again for being here. So pumped to get 2021 going with you guys. Let's kill it this summer, guys. In a world full of fantasy sheep, be the wolf.